Hello, Las Vegas, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Golf at the Park, Angel Park Golf Club's weekly interview show. Thank you so much for watching these videos, subscribing to our channel. It's very important. Liking and commenting, it's really important to us, and it's fun because we're growing. And speaking of fun, let's talk a little bit about the current content contest that we're running at Angel Park. I want to really thank all of you who you're the group of people who watch these episodes, and you have turned out this first week of the contest with guns blazing. It's been really fun to watch, and thank you so much. A quick update or recap on that is we're giving away a Ping G430 driver. We're giving away 12 rounds of golf. You can find all of that information on our Instagram, and we're also going to start uploading some of those videos to our YouTube channel here. So thank you for all of that. That gets enough of the housekeeping out of the way. I'm excited today. Today we've got Chuck Bombard, the bomber, on the show. What's up, Chuck?
Brother, good to see you.
Thank you
as
for
always.
coming in. Chuck has a good golf story. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Chuck?
65.
65. So you've been in golf at least 40 years.
51.
51. It's going to be fun to hear this story, right? I can't wait. And some of it goes back to Arizona, which are some ties to me. Angel Park, spent a great number of years here. So we're going to get to all of that. But let's just start at the beginning, Chuck. How'd you get introduced to golf? Where were you? What happened?
Well, my dad had got transferred to Washington, D.C., worked for General Electric. He was vice president of finance for the aerospace division. We lived all over. His philosophy was, if you want to move up, you got to move out. So we moved a lot. But my parents joined a middle of the road club in Alexandria, and just started playing. And I had two older brothers. They didn't want anything to do with me, and I just started. Fell in love with the game. I started playing, and I knew that's what I wanted to do.
So how old were you when you started playing?
Probably late 13, early 14.
Okay, yep.
And started. I hit balls and played every single day. How'd
you get introduced to it? Your dad
my
was
dad,
a member?
My dad was a member of the club, and he was a real good athlete.
And neither of your older brothers played? So that was interesting to you.
They're terrible.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons you liked it, right? Yeah, that's fun.
Well, it was just something I could do on my own.
Yeah.
And nobody, if it was meant to be, it was up to me. If I'm going to be any good, if I'm going to make it in this
it's a common
business,
theme in the game.
What I put in is what I'm going to get out.
Yeah. Well, when you say move a lot, it's well known that I'm a third generation golfer, and we moved around a lot. Yeah, that was that my father had the same theory you did, which I think is cool. Well, tell us about high school golf.
So I played high school golf in Virginia, Alexandria. Played 4 years. Actually, I went to 3 different high schools in a matter of 4 years.
You did bounce around a lot.
And played high school golf on all 3 teams. The school that I ended up at, Mount Vernon High School, we won regionals. We were runner-up in state.
Oh, so you had at least one team that you played on that was good.
Yeah, we had 4 guys that we all interchanged number 1 and played, scratch. We were all scratch players.
That's great.
So, you get to the top one ladder, and all of a sudden you're at the bottom of the next ladder.
Yeah,
so
the next team was not a good
I went to school in Florida, Florida Sun College, and that was kind of a funny story. I wanted to go somewhere. I didn't want to be in cold weather, and I looked at my brothers had those big college handbooks. Mm-hmm. I said, all right, Florida, what school starts the latest and what school gets out earliest? Because I want to get a leg up on a job, summer job. So there's Florida Southern College, Lakeland, Florida, middle of the state. And went on there. We had probably 36 guys that could shoot par or better.
Wow.
Well, Rocco Media went there. Lee Jansen.
Wow.
He was there a little bit younger than I am.
Just not a lot, though. Yeah.
Tom Gleaton, just some incredible players. And, I was lucky just to make the team, really. If you didn't shoot par or better, you might as well just forget it.
Yeah, but if you're playing...
This is in the 70s.
Yeah, and if you're playing college golf, that's an accomplishment regardless. So that's
fun.
And
the depth and the talent of these guys. You know, and you go there, you think you know everything, you think you're going to beat the world, and
Oh yeah.
you got another thing coming. So
We've had guests on here who thought they were going pro after a couple of months of playing good. It's funny how the game can give you delusions.
a rude
sometimes.
awakening.
A rude awakening is a good way to put it. So you're going to school, you're on the team, but it's a grind, and your team's probably not doing a lot. So you're not necessarily looking at a playing career. Do you already know that you want to have a career in golf, though?
Absolutely. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, obviously everybody's dream is to play on the tour. Tried to qualify for a couple of events, but it just wasn't good enough. So I had always, worked on a range when I was 14, 15. And then when I graduated, I actually had a job right when I graduated college up in Rochester, New York, Monroe Golf Club.
Okay.
And great course. Kodak was they were all members there, all the people that worked at Kodak, which is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Kodak doesn't. Yeah.
Met the president of the section, who happened to be, Dick Harmon, Butch's brother.
dad or brother?
Yeah. And he comes walking in the shop one day. So I had been there for maybe a week. This guy comes in, looks like Howard Hughes, out of black. Never forget it. Jet black hair, white dress shirt, black sport coat.
Just
Hi, I'm, Mr. Harmon. I'm the president of the section, and I felt like my knees were going to buckle. I was saying, oh my God, this guy's famous. So anyway, that didn't last too long. I was there about 3 months, and then ended up moving back home, and I ended up getting a job at the school that I played golf at in Lakeland.
Oh, cool.
Guy hired me on. I was like the fourth assistant. So again, at the bottom of the ladder, worked my way all the way up, and it was kind of at a lull in my game, and I knew I wanted to be a golf professional. I knew I wanted to maybe have my own shop, because I loved
that was the goal in the 70s and 80s.
I loved the
Own
merchandising.
your own shop and the merchandise.
And the guy I worked for owned the shop, and the owner of the club is George Jenkins, who owned public supermarkets in Florida and Georgia now. And it was his club that he built for his friends. So I was there for about 4 years, and actually was getting lessons from a guy that my college roommate, who was incredible. He has 6 course records, 2 NCAA championships.
Wow.
He was getting lessons from this guy, so I decided to go down and see him. And honestly, Jed, I think if things had been different, if I was smart enough to have gone to him 5 years earlier, I really think something could have happened.
Sliding door, right? It's one of those things where your life would have been totally different.
Completely changed my grip, and just nothing bad stuff, just stuff I didn't, you think you know everything.
Right.
I didn't know anything. So anyway, that leads to the next job, which was in Tucson.
I was going to ask you how you ended up getting to Arizona.
So I ended up as the outside service supervisor for a club called La Paloma.
I remember La Paloma.
1984.
So I grew up in Tucson. That would have made me 9 years old. And I remember, so my father actually built and ran a golf club around the bend of the mountain around the Catalinas called El Conquistador. And my brother, actually, Tony, who watches these, worked at La Paloma for many years when he went to school at U of A. So that's fun. So you started in the player services manager?
And
in 84 at Paloma?
Opened the club.
I was going to say, that was brand new then.
Yeah, we had I actually opened the club. We had a private membership, and then the resort came on in February. I moved there in November or October. February, the hotel opened. I worked my way up there from where I was all the way to golf director. So when I left in 91 to work for the tour, I was the director of golf for the membership and the hotel. But funny story about your dad is he and I served on the board together. So I'm a young assistant. I looked at him as a mentor, as like a father figure almost, or an older brother.
Yeah.
He and Larry Webb.
Yeah, Larry's come up on the show.
And I served on the board with him, and I just got a kick out of him. I just love the guy. And I don't know what happened. I guess, he must have moved up here.
Well, he moved to Pine Top for a while, but then, moved us here in 89.
Because I left in 91. I went to work for the tour at Sawgrass.
I can't wait to hear that story because I knew you worked for the tour, but I don't know anything about it. But I want to mention really fast, just because I know my old man's watching. It tickles me that you say that my dad was on the board, because for the last, 10, 15 years of his career, he couldn't stand the board of the section, of the Southwest section. So funny. He just got old and grumpy and get off my lawn type stuff. But I love hearing stories about when he was on the board, because it's just an interesting career arc. Golf is funny, man. The game ages differently than the people in it and around
No,
it. Right?
he convinced me to be the education chairman, and I ended up getting a Horton Smith Award, which is a PGA National PGA Award, and a Professional of the Year in Southern Chapter.
How nice! That's fun.
So yeah, I mean it was a push, but I wanted to get involved and wanted to be part of it, and
Well, speaking of awards, we'll get back to the tour, but I don't want you to just feel like you're rattling off your resume. I mean, that was a big deal, that award in '88 or whenever it was, '89. But you have a pretty big deal coming up here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I'm getting inducted in the Las Vegas Golf Hall of Fame.
That's
October
so cool.
7th and
November 7th?
October 7th.
October 7th.
It kicks off the week of the tour event. So I'm very excited. I'm honored. I'm touched. I tell everybody, I feel like I'm getting an award for just doing my job.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like I don't know if I've done anything above and beyond what a Hall of Famer would be recognized for, other than doing what I was getting paid to do.
I think humility kind of comes hand in hand with golf, right? I mean, I know my father's gone into the Hall of Fame. Phil Green's gone into the Hall of Fame. I only know a couple of guys who have gone in, but they all tend to say the same thing that you said, is that they either shuffle it off, or I don't think that for some reason, and I think it's a generational thing, men raised to believe certain things, but I don't know that they've ever really soaked it up and enjoyed how cool it is. I think you should do that.
Yeah.
You might not feel like you've earned it. You earned that award, man. That's cool stuff.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's awesome. So we're going to get to how you got into the Vegas Golf Hall of Fame, because we haven't even gotten to Vegas yet. So how do you end up working for the tour? What happens at La Paloma?
Well, if you remember, Jed, Star Pass?
Mm-hmm. TPC Star Pass.
Yeah. So just lo and behold, a lot of the corporate people that came out to check on the club would stay at La Paloma. And I met several of them, and they say, "Hey, what are you doing? How you like it here?" And da 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 da. And next thing I know, I'm getting offered a job.
Yeah. To do what?
Well, and that's the thing. And I was kind of hesitant, and basically one of my former senior bosses, who recently passed away, which hurts, but
Who's that?
his name was Pete Davison. He goes, "Chucker, get off the pot."
Yeah.
We're gonna, So anyway, I got offered the head professional job at TPC Sawgrass.
Head professional at Sawgrass?
Seventh wonder of the world. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And so, of course, I was excited, and I really loved working for Westin Hotels, and I really could have been there for the rest of my life, and I'd been very comfortable there. I loved Tucson. I had my daughter there at Tucson Medical Center. Anyway, this story's, you'll chuckle out of this one. So I get there, and I'm there there a week early just to kind of get used to the place. And I'm sitting in my boss's office, and phone rings, and his boss says, "Chuck, the commissioner decided that he wants to be involved in hiring a head professional, because they had gone through. This is 1991. That club opened in '80. They had gone through 6 or 7 head professionals."
Wow.
Yeah, in 8 years,
Yeah.
9 years. So he goes, you got an interview today at 4:00 with the commissioner, and unfortunately, if it doesn't go well, we can't offer you the job.
Oh, so you were given the job, and now you had to re-interview for it with the commissioner.
Right. So I panicked. But then I said, wait a minute. He grew up in Alexandria, Maryland.
Oh, so you had a tie.
And I said, he's on every single trophy of every club I've ever played at as a junior. Because we had like a little mini tour growing up.
In junior golf?
In junior golf in Washington, D.C., where we would play every week. You had to call and make it and get a tee time, and you got it straight and narrow. But it was like a little mini tour. So I said, you know what, if I screw this up, I get to meet him, I get to talk to him. And so sure enough, 4 o'clock, very humble, very quiet demeanor Commissioner Beeman had. A wonderful man. He introduces himself, and I introduce myself. He goes, well, tell me where you're from. And I, told him I was growing up in Virginia.
Yeah, you were hoping he was going to ask you that.
And and I said, Commissioner, I got to tell you, I said, I played on this junior league junior tour, and your name's on every single trophy in every club I ever played at. So I said, it's an honor to be sitting here with you. And he looks at me, and he goes, Chuck, who was the guy that ran that? And I said, his name was Frank Emmett. And he goes, oh my God, he ran it when I was playing it. So from that moment on,
yeah,
we were fast friends. He
That's
just said,
great.
welcome to the tour, and whatever I can do to help you.
And that's 91?
That was in 91.
So what's that like? I mean, you're at arguably the fifth major, the golf course home of the fifth major. I mean, tell us about about those years you were there.
I'll just tell you that the guy that I replaced, he was a big to-do list guy, and I was too. And he goes, I never, ever got through a to-do list. Because the minute you walk in there, you're going to get hit with something.
It's got to be a little similar to Angel Park, yeah?
Very similar as far as busyness, but there it's all the leading golf industry leaders of the world, all of the people that are involved in any way in golf, whether it's real estate, merchandising, golf club equipment, player relations, hotels.
Yeah, it's the hub,
We
right?
had Marriott Sawgrass right there. We had all the tour players that lived in Ponte Vedra there. We were the hub of the tour, and
arguably still is, I guess. Yeah,
oh yeah,
right.
yeah. You just never knew who or what you were going to run into, and I just looked at it every day, just pinched myself. I said, I can't believe I'm here doing this.
That's cool.
If it ends tomorrow, hey, I was the head professional at Sawgrass for 6 years. Ran the Players Championship merchandising operation for that many years, and
so how long were you at Sawgrass?
From 91 to 96, 5 years.
Okay, here's what everyone's going to ask, right? I know what all of you are thinking. How many balls do you think you've put into 17?
Well, not that many.
Because you didn't play?
It was hard. But I love that hole. It's a great hole. You just got to take the water blanket out of your mind. It's an easy little par 3.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done, right?
It's like number, 10 on cloud 9.
Yeah, that's what it's.
You just
got to
hit it straight.
Replicate. Yeah.
You just got to hit it straight, and you got to know how far you hit your clubs.
Yeah.
I've hit several, but I've hit several balls in the water there. And I tell you what, we could have just made a fortune letting people just play 17.
Sure.
Forget the others. It's a great golf course. Don't get me wrong.
When I was younger, hell, now I probably would just play 17 because I don't like to play a full round of golf anyway. They could definitely sell just playing 17.
But then you wouldn't have a tee left.
Yeah, well, it would
be ruined.
Logistically, it's a nightmare. How do you end up from the tour to Vegas then? Because that's your next stop, yeah?
Well, I had, I was training to become a GM, and got to kind of like be assistant GM at Sawgrass, and offered a couple of different jobs within the TPC organization, but was kind of talked out of it. He basically said, wait for the right one. So sure enough, they're going to open up TPC
Summerlin.
They opened up Summerlin in 90.
Oh, okay. So you came for Canyons.
I opened the Canyons. I got here about 6 months, right after they routed and routing out the fairways. So I got I call it the male version of having a child.
Yeah,
Because
you
I
saw
was
it
there,
birthed.
I was there from ground zero all the way to, well, I was there 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. I mean, I never, everybody says, oh, you're going to Vegas, you're never going to survive. And I had just gotten divorced. And so I just buried myself. I never even went out. I stayed with Alan Jones, you probably know
Yeah,
Alan.
sure.
He and his wife, Pat, were very nice to put me up. And I stayed in their guest room, and I worked every day from literally 5 in the morning to as long as I could keep my eyes open.
Yeah,
With
that's a
blueprints
golfer. Yeah.
and I had an office at Summerlin across the street from the TPC Summerlin, and it was kind of one of those 3 walls that had like not corkboard but kind of light. So
Hmm.
I called it my war room, and I had a sheet for each department,
Oh, okay.
like golf course
Yep.
maintenance, golf shop, accounting, everything that we were going to do. And I listed out all the stuff, and I would just cross off
Cross
stuff
it off.
every day that
Yeah.
just so I could keep track of it. And
Yeah, Dad's was yellow notepad, yellow legal
Kinda
pads.
same
but
thing.
yeah, golfers all have something that they.
So-
I mean, and that comes back from tee sheets, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny to talk to old golfers to book tee times. You guys just had a big calendar paper sheet that
Yeah.
would go, especially here in Vegas.
you
that
routed
would
out,
go-
you lined out all the tournaments, and then you plug people in around it. And that was your, also your, what do your legal documentation of your rounds,
Yeah,
because you had to total the sheet out and it had to match,
that's insane.
and equal with the revenue that you put on there, what what customer classification was.
Now I know you, or at least I met you when you were at Summerlin, TPC Summerlin. So how does that happen?
It's just through transition and the GMs that were there before I was there. It made sense. I'd been at TPC Las Vegas or TPC Canyons, whatever you want to call it, for 5 years, and it was the next step.
Yeah.
So, and I love member clubs. I grew up at a member club, and La Paloma was a membership and a resort. It was everything, and so was Sawgrass. So I really love that piece, and probably my favorite club is Summerlin. The members there were just fantastic. I mean, they were very supportive, and
I just want to talk about one in particular. Brad Creel. I don't think he'll ever watch this, but Brad Creel and I have a long history together because he used to come out and play Cloud9 in the early 90s.
yeah, he was a big Angel Park guy.
Yeah, and he was a good friend with Mike Tusa, who
Yep,
ran our
yep.
who ran our cart barn at the time, and then he ended up at Mirage as a casino host. But he used to talk about you all the time because you guys became fast
Yeah,
friends.
we were best friends.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
still
yeah.
are.
What's he doing now?
He's at Mirage.
Is he still at the
Yeah.
Mirage? Oh,
Even
Creel.
under the new ownership.
We might have to bring you on.
Yeah.
He's got a good golf story.
Yes,
It's fun.
he has several. And Jim Thorpe's a good friend of his. You should hear
Yeah.
a couple of stories he has about him. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Good times. So, how long are you at Summerlin?
Almost
A
10,
long
almost
time.
10 years.
Yeah. Oh, what to when?
01 to 2010.
2010. Oh, so you started there in 01.
Yes.
So
March,
today
March
is-
of 01.
So we're recording this on the 12th. Yesterday was the 11th. So I'm guessing you were at TPC Summerlin during the attacks on 9/11.
Interesting story.
I was gonna say-
6:30 in the morning. 6 in the morning. I was playing with I don't know what you call it, the tribal heads of Summerlin.
Oh,
the
okay.
original,
Yeah.
I don't know, board 10
Yeah.
member board of Summerlin. They were all in from California. They come in every 6 months or a year, and they have a meeting. So that morning we were playing golf, and then they were going to meet, and I got invited to play with them. So it was great. Well, I go into the locker room and I see the one tower being hit. So I run up into the front office. I said, DeLon, my controller, I go, you got to turn the TV on. Something's going on. I don't know if it was an accident, plane
Right. Yeah. you didn't
misfired
know
or
that
something.
Till the second one.
Then I go back into the locker room and the next one. I go, uh-oh. So my boss calls me. He was in Scottsdale at the TPC there, and he was going to come spend a day or two with me at Summerlin. And he goes, they've closed the dam, Hoover Dam, so I'm not coming. I got to go around. And and I'm going to leave. And all the board, we got to like the fifth hole, and they all got called from their respective businesses and said, you need to come back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the day went. It was pretty. I still got goosebumps just thinking about it.
Everyone remembers where they were, and that was, COVID obviously was much worse, but that was a monumental thing for Vegas, especially just because of the tourism and the airline industry. It changed a lot of things, and made things interesting for a while there, which was interesting. So if you were at Summerlin until 2000, that's getting you pretty close, but we're not there yet. Where do you go from Summerlin and why? When you leave TPC Summerlin in 01 or in 2010, do you come here?
No, I went to Royal Links. I went to work for Mr. Wall. That's where I met Joe.
That's where, and that's where you started.
And I was there for 6 years.
All right, so tell us about meeting Billy Walters and starting at Royal Links.
I knew Mr. Walters.
You'd already known him, obviously.
Because when I moved here, we opened the Canyons in October 31st, actually, and he was going to open. Was it Desert? No, it was Royal Links on Christmas Day in '96. So a month later. So we got to be fast friends, just talking about golf and the wholesalers and
the industry
and his expectation of customer service and running a great golf course and having a great product. And we just hit it off. And we were, I admired him as a businessman and just how smart and savvy he was. And, gosh, I wish I was that freaking smart.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I saw the notice for the job, and I ended up interviewing, and I actually turned it down. And then I got, they offered me another proposal, and it was great. I was there, 5 years, and then Mr. Walters sold it to a company in Arizona. They had 3 or 4 courses, and then I didn't last too long there for whatever reason.
Right, with new company, new management came in.
And then, lo and behold, in fact, the guy was on your show here a couple weeks ago, and ended up at Red Rock, and he's now at Durango.
Kevin Swain.
Kevin. So Kevin decided he was at Legacy, and he left to go to Red Rock.
Yep,
to
that's
run
right.
Arroyo. So I was getting ready to move to Reno, and I was going to be assistant GM at a restaurant.
Oh, wow.
My in-laws own a restaurant.
So you were going to leave golf.
Downtown Reno, and I had to do something. 53 years old or whatever I was. And called me, and I talked to Phil and talked to David Bogue.
David Bogue.
And I ended up there, started there in April, and then...
and this is 15?
This is
11.
11. No, I'm sorry. You're right. 17. 17. So they sold it, but Phil and David both had said, hey, if Pacific Life, who owned the contract,
right,
decides to get out, then we've got a spot over here for you at Angel Park. Don't worry. Well, how can you beat that?
Yeah.
And sure enough, on July 3rd, it sold, and I came over, and that was interesting. Those 3 or 4 days, because they had put up a fence and closed the course, and
Legacy was weird, right? Because they were going to
redo it.
They were going to trash it, I think.
Yeah, build shopping centers, and they were going to build businesses, and they didn't realize that the CC&Rs, it was supposed to be a golf course for like another 30 years.
Yeah, and then the homeowners went and got that reversed.
Right.
Yeah, which is why Legacy's still here to this day.
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. You were here for a few years. I love all of that. But I want to get into some meatier things about you in the game of golf. So let's just maybe for the few years that you were here, why don't you talk about an event or two, something funny that happened, maybe some of your favorite regulars. Why don't you just Give me a quick wrap up of your years at Angel Park.
Well, before I do that, I overlooked a very important piece that happened in Tucson.
Okay.
So it was a Nicklaus course. It was Jack's 100th golf course, his 100th signature course. And every time he has a signature course, he goes out and plays it. Kind of talks to the members and lets them know, what his thoughts were and what the developer wanted to do. And well, I got the caddy for him, and this is in 1985.
Oh, wow.
So this is a year before he won his last Masters. He had some back issues, had some health issues, but was coming out of it. He just finished 7th at Pebble Beach. And I was going to caddy for him. He and Don Pooley are, Don.
Sure.
Don was our training professional at La Paloma,
Uh-huh.
Great guy. So it was he and Don. We're going to play. And I wasn't nervous up until the point where I'm leaving the club, walking over to the range with his bag, and one of my best friends goes, "Chuck, do you realize that you're going to caddy for the best golfer in the world right now?" And I go, "Thanks."
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you weren't nervous at one point, you were definitely going to be eventually.
So it was unbelievable. And the only thing I had going for me, Jed, is the fact that a coworker and another one of my best friends, he and I did all the yardages on the course, meaning we shot them, all the sprinkler heads,
Mm-hmm.
and we got the little tags, and we actually put the tags on the heads. This is before we opened.
Right.
So I had a book of every hole on those two, because it's 3 nines, but this is on the 2 nines, Ridge and Canyon. So I knew every sprinkler head on every hole, and nobody was going to tell me a yardage that I didn't already know.
So you're prepared.
I don't care who it was.
Yeah.
And it's funny because our director of marketing at the time told me that he went to the opening at Grand Cypress, and they were rotating caddies. And I don't know, I'll tell this story because you need to hear this. And they rotated caddies every 6 holes. Well, Jack always wanted to know what it was to the front of the green, and from the front of the green to the pin. Every hole. So the kid comes on, and he's obviously excited to caddy for Jack
Sure.
Nicklaus, and Jack says, "Okay, what have I got from here?" And the guy just looks at him and says, "I don't know." And Jack,
Quit rotating caddies every 6 holes.
looks at the kid and says, "Well, when are you gonna know? When I leave?" And that's his personality. I mean,
Oh, I've heard that about
he's
Jack.
there's no shedding anything. You either know or you don't know, and if you don't know,
You're
you better get
not
ready.
worth much.
Correct. So we had gotten in several arguments over the course of the round about yardages.
Wow.
And at one point, he grabbed my yardage book. He says, "What's this?" Because it's like a little memo. It's like a little memo book you put in your pocket, for school or
Yeah,
at work,
sure.
and write notes. Well, I had it all detailed out, every hole, page or two, whatever. And now, he grabs my book, and now everybody's in a big circle. There's like 200 members there, and they're all in a big circle. And he's pointing at stuff in my book, and all of a sudden everybody's kind of looking over his shoulder. And he's like, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, that's the cactus over there." He goes, "Well, what's this?" He goes, "That's a chimney with an antenna." He goes, "What are you doing that for?" I said, "Well, it marks where the sprinkler head is." Oh, throws the book back at me.
That's great.
So we're on every hole. There's something going on. We get on one hole, and I'll end up with this one. So we get on this par 3. And again, he wants to know what it is from where he's hitting to the front of the green to the pin. So I got my book out, and he goes, "Okay, Chuck, what?" He goes, "What have I," just like that. And a member standing next to the tee says, "Jack, you got 172 from here." And Jack turns around, looks at the guy and says, "I'm not playing from there." And I'm just like, oh, wow. It just barbecued this guy, just
Yeah.
right off at the knees. But anyway, it was a great round. I'll never forget it. And you at some point, and maybe it was at the range when he was warming up, because he's just he's a strong guy. He looks like he's just
Sure.
death gripping the crap out of the club. He's not at all. I've never seen anybody, maybe Tiger Woods, that becomes one with the club. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But
No,
almost like
I think I
the
understand.
club is a limb of your body, and he could do whatever he wanted to do with that golf ball. We had ninth hole's a par 5, and when the weather was starting to change, front was coming in, and I handed him the driver, and he goes, "I'm letting this one out." So I told one of my best friends is caddying for Don. I said, "Watch this." So Don hits it out there. It's a good,
Good drive.
Jack is at least 80 or 90 yards in front of him. and you couldn't tell by the swing what he did. I'm like, the hell, how did he hit a driver and a 200, and it sold like 560 yards.
That's wild.
Into the wind.
Well, those stories are what is great about this show. Let's just do that. Let's talk about some of your favorite places you've played in the world, because I'm guessing you've been around.
Well, Sawgrass, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Pebble Beach. Oak Hill up in Rochester.
Oak Hill, great golf course.
Oh, so hard. Medina, Chicago.
You played Medina?
Never. It's like walking on heaven turf. Your feet, you just kind of sink into the fairway grass.
My brother got to go to I don't remember if it was I guess it was probably the PGA Championship at Medina in the early 90s. And he tried to get an autograph from Arnold Palmer, and he got knocked down by a fan, and Payne Stewart came over and helped him up. And
oh, wow.
He was still kind of a not an unknown, but he wasn't a star.
Great guy.
And yeah, supposedly a great guy. He helps my little brother up, and he autographs his thing for me. He goes on and wins the tournament. Yeah, so Medina is a fun story for my brother. That's cool. That's so cool.
And I played Augusta twice.
You've played Augusta. I didn't know that. Wow, you've got to play Augusta twice?
Got to stay there. You talk about heaven.
How'd that happen?
Well, when I was at Sawgrass, my boss's cousin, first cousin, owned a construction company in Augusta. He's from Augusta, my boss's boss, and his wife, who was our merchandiser, national merchandiser. And he had said, "Hey, would you look after this gentleman? He's going to be here for a couple of days and play Stadium and Valley, and if you just look after him, make sure he's got everything he needs." Sure, of course. Yeah. He'd be here anyway, of course. Right. Yeah. So honestly, Jed, I really didn't do anything that I can remember out of the ordinary, other than just saying, "Hey, good morning. How was around? How'd you like the just." And so we get through, and he comes in, shakes my hand, and says, "Hey, I really appreciate everything, and I had a great time, and I'll have you up at my club in Augusta." And I'm not even thinking
my club.
I'm not even thinking Augusta National. I'm thinking Augusta Country Club, which is also a very nice course. Kind of forgot about it. Well, 2 months later, he calls me and says, "Hey, I'd like to have you come up."
There's an opening at my club.
You bring somebody, and I'll bring somebody, and we'll play. And this is like May, and we're just swamped. And I said, "There's no chance." I said, "Mr. Cocky, I really appreciate it, but I'm not sure I can get away." And very nice of you to invite me. He goes, "Chuck, are you aware of which club I'm talking about?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, Augusta Country Club. And he goes, "No." He goes, "The National." And I went, "Oh."
Wow.
So I went and invited my dad, because it would have been, but my boss.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big ask.
Invited himself. Anyway, so.
Well, tell me about your most favorable hole, or what do you remember the most about playing that day?
What I remember the most, that's a great question. So I'm on the 9th hole. I'm 3 over. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Hooked the crap out of the tee shot on 9. If you remember the hole before they moved the tee back 100 yards.
Right.
It actually ended up perfect. Went right around the corner, right down the bottom of the hill, and 9-iron into the green. And I knock it, pins all the way in the back left. I knock it on the far right side of the green. I'm on the green, but so I'm thinking I got to putt it real high and let
Tricky
it, let
putt.
it drift in. The caddy says, no, hit it firm and try to hit it at the right edge.
Didn't sound right, but you got to
It
trust
didn't.
him.
And I'm like, oh, he's a caddy. He knows. So I did. I didn't hit it real hard, but I, hit it, with somewhat of authority. It's solid. It catches the right lip and spins out and goes all the way to the bottom of the green. At least 60 feet away, or however long that green is. No, I 4-putt the green.
Yeah.
So now I want to just bust every club in my bag. And I go, wow, I'm at Augusta.
Yeah.
We go into the clubhouse.
It's the turn.
Okay. And you can do whatever you want there. You don't have to, you can play 3 holes and quit if you want and go back out.
Yeah.
So I meet the governor of the state. I meet the president of the club.
Wow.
And I met somebody else. I can't even remember. It's all a fog to me. I said, you know what? I told Mr. Gentleman's name, Jesse Cockey. I said, Mr. Cockey, I'm done. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm emotionally done.
Spent.
I've been watching this tournament since I was 8 years old. You've taken me upstairs to the crow's nest. You had me trying some jackets.
That's insane.
So you have to leave your jacket there. I got to see the trophy. I got to have lunch in the club, playing the course. I said, I'm done. I don't even know if I can pull the club back.
Yeah.
And he goes, you got to just enjoy it. And I said, well, I am, but I'm.
So did you go play the back nine?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Double,
I was going to say.
Double. 10 and 11. Yeah.
Well, 11 might be
11's
the one that
brutal.
I would be the most afraid
Yeah.
of.
And what I'm like, what am I doing? Then I said, you know what? I got to get my stuff together here. Come on, you can do this. You can play this course.
Yeah.
I played it every year, 4 times,
Yeah.
Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, in your head.
And so it was just a great day.
That's so cool. Oh, wow, Chuck. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Over the years, Tiger started one wave. I think COVID and the pandemic started another wave of bringing in a lot of interest to people that didn't necessarily come up in the golf world, never really even considered golf. But then Tiger brought a lot of eyes and people wanting to try to play. And then COVID, everybody wanted to just get outside and do something. So the game has evolved, 20 years ago or so, a little more, with Tiger coming in, and then now 20 years later that. And there's been so many changes in golf. Do you have anything that you don't like about the game, or that you would change about the game over the years?
Well, I was always a proponent of allowing people to fix their ball marks and spike marks, which I think is a great change. The COVID rule about not touching the flagstick ended up saving all of us.
Changing the game, right?
It literally, and you and I, you used to come fill me in every day when we were going through COVID, which I love the stories you told. Mm-hmm. And I think I mentioned to you, I said, I think we've picked up 15 or 20 minutes around. Just because guys don't have to touch the flag.
Yeah.
You don't have to pick it up and move it around, and it's in this guy's way, and
Yep.
And that, I think that was a big help, and I think that was a serendipity. That nobody really expected that to occur.
That hasn't been brought up, but that's a really good one.
And I know it's made a difference.
Yeah.
Now some guys freak out if the pin's in. They're going to hit the flag, it's going to bounce out.
Right.
But for the most part, it saves time.
Yeah.
Even if it's 2 minutes a hole, that's a lot of time. Or even a minute a hole.
And time is a big one as far as
biggest
things you would
complaint we
change
had
about
here.
golf. Yes.
Certainly at Angel Park, that was the number one complaint. Well, you used to call it. You said the old
parking lot.
Yeah,
Angel parking lot.
Angel parking lot.
I've worked here a long time, and so my friends, you know who you are. You're watching. Joe Lombardo is probably the biggest one. He used to tease me relentlessly and say that I worked at the parking lot, Angel parking lot, because the rounds would take so long. And You know, what's interesting about that is there's still that stigma. Angel Park hasn't been above a 4 to 4 hour and 20-minute round golf course in
Years.
a long time, and yet there are still people who remember it as the course that you just get stuck on.
Right.
And because golf courses locally have put so many tee times out there, we regressed back to 10-minute tee times and never changed.
Right.
So we're
Which is
actually
also
faster
good.
than a lot of the courses in
Right.
town now, but a lot of the people that play the other golf courses that remember our stigma, they just feel like, well, we're playing a 5-hour round here, we'd still play one at Angel Park anyway. Like there are people still out there, local golfers today, that haven't really given Angel Park a chance in
Right.
years.
I
I think
agree with
that's
that,
interesting.
100%.
And that's one of the things we're trying to tackle here.
That's a
and-
good point, though, Jen. I don't know if you ever will. I don't know how you can convince everybody.
Oh no, sometimes you can't, right? I mean, that's an interesting thing too. I've met so many new people here, and many players like Big Matt, and some of the other guys, been in town and in the game for their entire lives, and didn't really play Angel Park much, except for the Pro Scratch. I think is the times Matt had come over since then, and then now. Through changes, we've gotten to where, Matt loves to hang out here all the time, and we love you, Big Matt. So talk about somebody who's attacking the content contest. Him and Scales are getting after it. So I do think all of those conversations about Angel Park, where it fits into Vegas, how the city has changed. So you moved here, you said, in 91?
96.
96. So
September of 96. Or no, April of 96.
okay, so and that was right when TPC Vegas opened.
Right.
So
We
it
opened
was
up
still
November 1st or October 31st.
it was still really new out here, right?
Yeah,
the
Suncoast
didn't
wasn't open
exist. Yeah, right. Next
JW
door
Marriott was being built.
was being built,
Rampart or Summerlin, Resort at Summerlin, it was called.
and Rampart was still just a 2-lane road. I
Yeah.
mean, it was different then. Yeah.
Yeah, everything pretty much ended up at Rainbow.
Yeah.
I mean, Town Center was there, but it ended at Banbury Cross or Canyon Run,
Yep.
and then they were starting to push it out.
Well, in
south.
'89, you had to come up West Cliff to
Yeah.
Durango, and then down at the actual park that sits kind of next to 17T of the Palm. You had to drive in that way because Rampart, Summerlin was built, but it wasn't open yet.
Right.
Not until 1990, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting. So much fun. I want to know the hardest question, maybe. So think about it for a second if you need to. What's your favorite thing about golf?
Unquestionably, it would be the people that you meet, you run into. I mean, obviously, good and bad.
My answer is the culture. So it's very similar. I would answer that it's everything. It's the people. It's being outside. It's the beauty. It's the tradition. I love all of that, and trying to open it up and make it more accessible is my main goal, because I do love all of those things so much. So tell me about why you say the people specifically, though, because that's a great answer.
Because I've met some of the greatest people ever that you just love to talk to or listen to. Well, you are one of them.
Well, thank you.
And you don't know what you don't know unless you listen. And it's great meeting people and understanding their background and where they're from and what they did and what happened to them. And that I'm a people person. I'm a social person. So that would have been a very difficult thing for me to do if I was playing on a tour, because you stick me in a room for more than 15 minutes, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've got to get out. So, and those guys are religious about being by themselves or working out or,
Yeah.
being an introvert, not as opposed to an extrovert.
Right.
So but to bluntly answer your question, definitely and I love merchandising, all those things that go with golf or any business.
What do you think about the way merchandising's changed? I mean, golf was traditionally made fun of for being bright and loud and tacky in the 70s and early 80s, and then it kind of went away, and now it's back with full force. Do you like that change and the softening of dress codes, or do you wish that it would stay more traditional?
I'm definitely more like the relaxed feel.
Yeah.
And I like, it's like anything, as we've gotten older, things get better, it's like a car or a guitar or a piano or anything,
It's
really.
evolution.
Golf clubs, shafts,
the evolution
grips,
of everything.
and manufactured clothing material, cottons, the material that they source out, it gets better. And there's more variety. And like you said, brighter colors, it's fun. It's fun. And, it's like Christmas every day. You get to open up new stuff. You get new stuff in. You go, oh, wow, this is cool. And
That's a good example.
it's like having Christmas every day. You get to see, you're the first one to see it.
Yeah.
And you're going to sell it. You have to, you when you buy merchandise, you're there looking at samples of different things, but you never really know what it's going to look like.
Right.
Sometimes you may not even see it. You may just see a picture of it. And
Yeah.
you kind of knows if this is going to sell.
Right.
So that's why I kind of call it Christmas, because you're ripping the boxes open and you're pulling stuff out, and can't wait for somebody to look at it and go, oh man, I got to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the tour. Do you have any thoughts on the PGA and LIV debate? I'm interested to hear if you fall on one side or the other, if you think any of it is good for golf, if it's all bad for golf. What do you think?
Well,
Give me your two minute take on the LIV tour.
I might be the ultimate politician. I don't know. I see both sides. I grew up in golf.
Oh, I fall in your camp hard. So call me a politician too.
I'm a traditionalist because I grew up in it, and I understand the game and the etiquette and kind of the rules of the road. And I was asked or paid to follow those rules in the rule book. And pay attention to what people are doing and how they're acting. So the LIV is a completely different entity, and it's going to evolve, I'm sure. Am I against it? I mean, those guys made a decision, and a lot of them made the right decision. They're making a lot of money, and they're not working as hard. And that the answer? No, don't work harder, work smarter.
Yeah.
And these guys are all working smarter. They're playing less events. They're playing in an atmosphere that they like, and they're making 40 times the amount of money that they made before.
Yeah, and
working less hours.
Yeah, and Koepka's shown that you can win a major, right? Even not necessarily playing on the tour every week, which you would think would keep you sharper. So I don't think it's going anywhere, obviously, now that that question already, we talked about it more in February and March than we have recently, but it's already changed so much because now they're partners, which is something that you couldn't say in the spring, or owned by, depending on how you want to put it together. So I think that evolution is fun, and I just wanted to grab your thoughts on that. What about current players? Do you have any favorite current players? Or who are your favorite? I mean, obviously you were a Jack Nicklaus guy, but do you have guys that you gravitated towards throughout your life that you rooted for?
Well, Arnold Palmer, how can you not love him?
Yep.
And, some of the people that had just beautiful golf swings, like Jerry Pate comes to mind, Bill Rogers.
See, Jerry Pate and Bill Rogers are names we would not get on this show if it were for you. So that's fun, and I know that that's fun for certain people watching this. Yeah, because those are deep pulls.
Yeah, Al Geiberger, another beautiful swing, just like butter.
Yeah, Al Geiberger had a run in the '80s,
yeah.
Boy. Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys like that that you try to emulate or wish that you were as good as they were. Nowadays. Man, the players are so fine-tuned and they're so focused on getting the optimum out of every swing and every shot. I mean, the physical attributes.
They're specimens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. Do I have a favorite player? Not really. I love watching it.
That's my argument to or that's what I say to people a lot, is the thing that I love about golf is you don't need to have a favorite player, because at the end of every tournament on Sunday, there's at least one or two guys that are easy to root for, that are up there at the top. And golf is kind of a game where you're never necessarily rooting against anybody, and there are exceptions to that rule. I'm sure there are people who root against Patrick Reed, but you know what I mean. You don't necessarily root against golfers as much as you do root very strongly against other teams and team sports, right? I think that's fun. Chuck, I had a ball. Do you have fun doing this?
Yeah,
Did you enjoy this?
when you mentioned it to me, several months ago, I said, well, that'd be fun to do that. I love talking golf and,
Yeah.
Well,
you're perfect for the show, so I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
And that's not going to end it. Because you've been watching these. That only concludes the first segment of the show. We're actually going to do the second segment, which we call our Par 5. The Par 5 is a group of questions that we ask the same questions every week to our guests and get different answers, and we'll just keep talking golf. So are you ready?
Yeah.
What's your favorite golf movie?
Caddyshack.
Sure. Okay. Now, who's your favorite character?
Oh, gotta be
Dangerfield.
Bill Murray.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I like that. I like that answer. I mean,
When
he's
he's
my
hitting the
favorite,
flowers
but I like
off
Ty Webb too. I mean, they're
Yeah.
all great. They're all great. Favorite line?
I got that going for me, which is nice.
Good one. That's a very, very strong one. Question number 2. What's your favorite club in your bag and why?
Probably my putter.
I always love when the putter is the answer, because that's the most important club.
That putter has been in my golf bag since I started playing.
Oh, so what putter are you?
So Walter Hagen Cascade.
Walter Hagen Cascade you've been playing with since you're
13 years old.
13 years old?
51 years.
Are you
52 years.
kidding me?
No, I'm not.
You buried the lead in your golf story. You've had the same putter since you were 13. That's insane. Chuck?
And I got it on a trade. A guy liked my sand wedge. I had a Ben Hogan Sure-Out that he loved. Not the one with a big flange, but a thin one.
Okay.
And he loved it. And he says, look, he gave me 5 clubs for that one club.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about it. And that putter was one of them.
So how many times did you try another putter?
Oh, I've got 20 putters.
Yeah. And you just never liked it as much
5
as...
or 6 Scotty cameras I don't even use. I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of T.P. Mills, worked for Spalding.
Yeah.
Custom putter maker.
Yeah.
I got 3 of those, all hand milled. Beautiful clubs. Always go back to the Cascade.
Wow. That's the most surprising answer I've heard doing this show, that you have the same putter since you were 13. That's crazy. That's so cool, Chuck. Question number 3, my favorite question. I'm going to give you your dream foursome. So you get to go play golf with any 3 people in the world, alive, dead. Who are you going to go play golf with, and where are you going to tee it up? Which golf course?
Well, got to go back to Augusta.
I'm glad that you say Augusta after having been there. That's cool, because we haven't had many people. I just realized Alan was on before he went to Augusta, so we're going to have Alan back on to talk about Augusta. But that you have been there and still you would choose to go there
it's
above
hollow
any place
ground.
you haven't even been yet.
So probably Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones. We've had him come up, so that's a great answer.
The guy's invented the game pretty much, or not invented, but.
No, if you're doing Mount Rushmore, it's Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Bobby Jones, and Tiger Woods, right? I don't know that you can argue a fifth.
Well,
who would you argue?
Well, I can't play 5 though. It's only 4, right? So
no. I was just talking about
I got Arnold, and I got Bobby Jones.
So you got Bobby Jones, and who's your last one?
Jesus, that's a tough one.
Now let me remind you, you don't have to pick golfers. Do you have like a famous person, athlete in another sport, or politician, or actor? Do you have someone that you would want to get out and just spend 4 hours with?
My 4th would have been Glen Fry.
Glen Fry, also a golfer, plays around a little bit.
I got to be friends with him.
Oh, really?
And that's another funny story at Sawgrass.
Let's go.
He calls up, and I didn't even know who he was at the time. This is 96. Or no, 90. No, this is 93.
So, but you knew of him.
I knew the Eagles. I didn't know the individuals.
But you didn't know he was solo and part
kind of
of the
knew who
Eagles.
Joe Walsh was. Kind of knew. No, I don't even think I did.
Joe Walsh is the
So
coolest
guys,
Eagle, by the way.
we worked in a small office, probably half the size of this room, 5 of us, and we were always all busting each other's balls, big time. I mean, you couldn't walk in there without somebody doing something to somebody. So one of my assistants goes, "Hey, I got Glen Fry on the phone." He goes, you don't even know who he is, do you?" I said, "I have no idea." He goes, "He's the Eagles. He's the lead singer of the Eagles." I go, "Yeah, right." He goes, "Chuck, I'm serious. He's on the phone." His name was Steve Stram. I said, "Strammy, if you're lying to me, you're fired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you doing this." Because he did it to me with Curtis Strange, too. So I get on the phone, and sure enough, it's Glen Fry. He goes, "Hey, I'm playing in town at the Moroccan Temple in Jacksonville with Joe Walsh." He and Joe were touring. This is before they had the Hell Freezes Over tour.
Right.
Maybe a year before. So he goes, some of my guys in the band want to come out and play. And my boss is on vacation. But I remember him telling me, he goes, "If you do anything for anybody, make sure you include everybody." Okay. So I go, "Well, when do you want to play?" He goes, "Well, today or, tomorrow, whenever." And he goes, I'd like to help you, get you some tickets to the show." I'm like, so I go, "Okay." So I call the admin assistant, and I said, "Hey, I got Glen." She's all Google-eyed already. The minute I mentioned Glen Fry, she obviously knows who he is. I said, "What? I got to invite. I got to put it out to the tour. I got to put it out to the office." So she calls down there, tells everybody. There's 96 people that want to go. She comes back. She goes, "Chuck, we got a problem."
Yeah.
I said, "What's the problem?" She goes,
You can't include all 96
Remember
people.
the tickets? I said, "Yeah." She goes, 96 people want to go. So I call Glenn back. I said, "Glenn, love to have you come out here and play. No, we'll take care of you, no problem." He goes, "Great, how many tickets you need?" I go, let's talk about it when you come out here." So he gets out there, and me and the admin assistant at the time, she's a really beautiful girl, thank God. She's from Alabama. We go out there. "Well, let's go out there. You and I go out there and talk to him. Maybe see what he says. If I got to backpedal, then I backpedal." So we go out there, and he goes, "Hey, did you figure out how many tickets you need?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "How many?" I go, he goes, "How many?" I said, "Okay, 96. He goes, "Done."
He said, "No problem."
First 3 rows.
He got you all the first 3 rows, too? That's insane. Shout out Glen Fry.
So we became fast friends. And when I moved out here, I, used to follow him in a Pro-Am. And just a great guy. Just humble, blue collar. I mean, I don't know if I say. I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but he's just a cool guy.
Yeah.
And you never know who he was. You never know that is who he is. But he's just that way.
That's a great answer. Question number 4, shot number 4. What's your aiming fluid? You've been playing golf a long time. When you've gone out on the golf course, what's the drink or beverage that you've had the most often, frequently with you over those years?
On the course?
On the golf
drinking?
course. Yep.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper. So not an alcohol drinker on the golf course, but you are a drinker.
Yeah.
So
Love wine.
did you avoid alcohol because you thought that it would make your game worse?
Yes.
Is that why you dodged it? Because the reason for the question is that there are some people who believe a little bit of alcohol helps them. There are some people who know that it does not. And so it's just an interesting dichotomy. So even when you've gone out with pals and they're drinkers, you haven't had drinks on the golf course. That's awesome.
Maybe towards the end, I'll have
a
if
beer
I'm
or
playing
something.
bad, screw it, let's start drinking.
Yeah. So Diet Dr. Pepper. Great answer. Also the first time that's come up. That guaranteed. So
Best drink in the world.
yeah. I would say Diet Dr. Pepper is the best diet soda. It tastes almost exactly like Dr. Pepper. Yeah. That is the best diet soda. All right. Fun. Question number 5. We've come to the end of the road. This one's fun. let's talk. You actually said earlier at some point, and I wish that I remember where in the interview it was, but you have said earlier today, I almost broke all of my clubs or something, or I almost just snapped my clubs in my bag. And that is question number 5. How have you dealt with your anger on the golf course over the years? Have you ever snapped a club? Have you ever thrown a club? Are you someone who swears, or do you internalize everything? How do you deal with anger on the golf course? How have you, and how have you tried to change it?
I have broken clubs.
You have been a club breaker. Over your knee?
I did it in front of my dad, and my dad, he goes, "You're not good enough to break a club."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You do that again, you're not going to play."
So you learned that lesson early.
And I got to the point where I'm like, why am I getting this mad? What the hell? Even now, I mean, I've been playing for 51 years.
Yeah.
And, you hit a bad shot and you want to just...
Yeah, you still get angry.
Oh, I had it happen the other day. And I just said, you know what? Come on. You haven't been playing. You're not good enough. Just let it go.
The random golf club guys are convincing me to go out and play golf. And
I've never seen you swing a club.
I haven't played golf in a long time, and I've been getting a lot of teasing for that, and with good reason. The changes I've made in my golf life, especially these last 2 years, I need to get back out on the golf course. But it's fun to talk to people, especially lifers, that about anger and those type of things, because even though you shouldn't. You've learned how to handle it the right way. And you just said that last week you were so angry on the golf course. It doesn't go away. And I know for a fact that when I go out and I swing a club, and inevitably, probably the first one, that I don't hit well, I'm going to say, gosh, if you would just practice more, you could come play this game with anybody. Yeah. And then the very next thought in my head is, yeah, but you don't like to practice, Jed. I don't enjoy going out and
machine gun and balls.
Grinding. Yeah. I just don't. I never. I did from like 12 to 15. I think that I had moments where I would really enjoy going out and doing that. But for the most part, no. I just never was able to grind into that.
Well, your dad had a beautiful golf swing. I remember that.
The old man has quite the golf swing, and it's changed. I don't know how many times.
Kind of Jerry Pate-ish almost.
Yeah. He was a ball striker.
And see, I'm not.
He could have used your putting.
I've never been able to hit it solid consistently. I don't know, spastic. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you see these guys on tour that just don't ever miss. Well, I think of a guy like Brady Expert. He just hits it so beautifully and so solid, and so meticulously, and just does it with no effort.
Well, speaking of no effort, Chuck, you are the consummate professional. I've been waiting to have you on the show since its inception, so thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame. I just think all of that's so neat. Thank you again for coming on, my guy. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week, so keep tuning in. Let me know, please, personally, if you have any thoughts, critiques. That's kind of what we're working on this stage of whatever this is right now, too. So thank you so much. Hit 'em straight from your friends at Angel Park. Cheers.